Now at 7 o'clock, the fate of the deployment of the National Guard in Portland still up in the air. But if troops are deployed to the city, what would that deployment actually look like? Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz is going to break it all down for us coming up in a live report.
And President Donald Trump is headed to the Middle East as a historic ceasefire finally takes hold. What comes next and when the remaining hostages could finally return home.
Of course, it's Friday morning, so let's have a little fun on the Sunrise Show this morning. Coming up this hour, we're talking about the best songs so far in the 21st century, from Taylor Swift to Missy Elliott. Which song is really the best of the bunch over the last 25 years? Rolling Stone has their pick. We're going to talk about it coming up as we kick off the 7 o'clock hour of Sunrise right now.
Well, good morning and thank you for joining us. I'm Corey Johnson in for China Green today.
Yeah, China's off, so is Chris McGinnis, but man, Rod Hill loves himself a 5-day work week. So here he is on a Friday morning, ready to rock and roll.
You know what I find crazy? I never really thought about it. I still think of this century as being somewhat new. We've been doing this century for 25 years now.
Yeah, this century is old hat for us.
That's crazy. Man. All right, here's what's going on. Upper level low offshore. Rain areas moving south to north. We'll see this throughout the day. We also have a thunderstorm threat today. Notice there's not as much rain along the coast. It's actually pretty quiet. That could continue to be the case. But there's some lightning outside of Roseburg. And here's this intensifying rain area over Marion County, now starting to push up into Clackamas County. So there's Welch's and Sandy. This is coming your way. And this could start to bend back toward downtown Portland as well. So definitely have your rain jacket with you and assume that at some point today you're going to be out in the rain if you're spending some time outside. Really pretty view currently with some breaks in the cloud cover, still waiting for the sun to pop up, but some early morning sunrise colors. Looks like traffic on the Interstate Bridge is moving just fine. 53 from the Springs at the Waterfront live camera to the bus stop we go. Rain jackets needed. Temperatures will be fairly steady in the 50s throughout the day. I can't pinpoint rain, so at any given time in your neighborhood there could be some rain. At noon, could be some rain in your neighborhood when your kids get out of school. It'll be about 59 degrees. And again, don't forget, it's the least possible that we'll have some thunderstorms mixing in. That's your update.
All right, thank you, Rob. We mentioned no Chris this morning, but we do have some traffic reports to get to on this Friday. And we start with what appears to be a crash on the top deck of the Markham Bridge that is definitely slowing traffic down this morning. This is a live look from one of our ODOT cams. You can see the traffic in the right lanes, and obviously this is a pretty far away shot, a little shaky. But that does show some of the backup in the right-hand lanes. We believe a vehicle is still pulled over to the right shoulder. Meanwhile, photojournalist Chad Dehart is on the scene heading that way. We're going to have more on this, and we'll keep you updated as we move through the morning. Let's get to our news headlines now. We start with the latest on the possible deployment of the National Guard to Portland. A 3-judge panel heard arguments for and against that idea yesterday in federal appeals court, but they didn't give an actual ruling.
That's right. This was the scene outside the ICE facility around 11 o'clock last night. Our KGW crew saw 2 people taken into custody by federal agents, but we don't know exactly why. Portland police also say they made 2 arrests last night near the ICE building. 1 person was arrested for harassment and another was arrested for a warrant. Both were booked into the Multnomah County Detention Center. The Portland police say they've now made a total of 47 arrests in the South Waterfront area since those protests began in June.
Getting back to the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals, the 3-judge panel is deciding whether or not to uphold last weekend's ruling by a federal judge that blocked the Trump administration from deploying the National Guard to here in the city of Portland. The state of Oregon argues that President Trump would exceed his authority with that deployment, but 2 of the judges on that panel pushed back, questioning whether blocking troop deployment was giving enough deference to the president.
I'm sort of trying to figure out how a district court of any nature is supposed to get in and question whether the president's assessment of executing the laws is right or wrong.
200 Oregon National Guard members remain active in the area, but they won't be deployed to Portland until the judges make a final decision.
And let's get over to Thomas Schultz, who's live for us in South Portland. Now, Thomas, what could a National Guard deployment look like exactly?
Yeah, well, guys, we can look towards Chicago for some clues in that there. National Guard deployment has been basically guarding federal buildings. They can also be used to help guard federal or protect federal agents like ICE officers Here in Portland, we're waiting on the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals to issue a determination and a ruling dictating whether the Trump administration can send National Guard troops to Portland. President Trump tried to deploy 200 Oregon National Guard troops a couple of weeks ago. That was blocked by a judge. 2 days after President Trump called up the National Guard, Brigadier General Alan R. Grunwald, the head of Oregon's National Guard, addressed lawmakers, saying troops could be trained in crowd control but couldn't make arrests.
That Oregon National Guard men and women they serve two purposes: one, to defend America, and two, to protect Oregonians. And so by serving in this mission, they will be protecting any protesters at the ICE facility. That's my desire.
Everything we're doing is very lawful.
President Trump says everything his administration is doing is lawful. In Illinois, a U.S. district judge granted a temporary restraining order against the National Guard that assembled this week, saying she found no rebellion in Chicago. Here in Portland, Grunwald says that missions can be shortened if National Guard is able to be deployed. He does add that the longest that Oregon National Guard troops could be deployed is 80 days. Drew, Corey.
All right, Thomas Schultz live for us this morning outside the ICE facility. Meanwhile, the Multnomah County District Attorney says 2 Portland police officers were justified during a September shooting. The officers shot 30-year-old Brian Velasco Ruelas after police say he threatened gas station workers with a gun. Body cam video showed him reaching into a vehicle before officers opened fire. Ruelas survived and he faces multiple charges, including 4 counts of attempted murder.
Oregon State Representative Hoa Nguyen has died after a battle with cancer. Nguyen was the eldest daughter of Vietnamese refugees, attended St. Mary's, and later graduated from Portland State. Now, she was a teacher and school board member and was first elected to the State House in 2022, representing an area that stretched from East Portland to Damascus. Nguyen was 41 years old.
A crash between a car and a TriMet bus sent 1 person to the hospital. This happened last night at 79th and East Burnside. Portland Fire and Rescue helped the driver get their door open and get out of the car. They were taken to the hospital, but we don't know their condition this morning. What we do know is that no one was hurt on the bus. Starting this Monday, the Broadway Bridge in downtown Portland will be closed to all vehicles for 6 months. Crews are going to replace the bridge's decking, which was installed almost 2 decades ago. Portland streetcar will also be rerouted, but the south sidewalk of the bridge is going to stay open for pedestrians and cyclists.
And starting this Sunday, TriMet will begin a 7-day max improvement project. It'll be on the east side of the Willamette River. On Sunday, blue, green, and red line service will be disrupted. There will be shuttle buses serving closed stations between Rose Quarter and Gateway Transit Center. And from Monday through next Saturday, the max red line will be down between Gateway and PDX Airport. TriMet encourages riders to plan trips ahead of time and expect up to 45 minutes of delay.
Just being aware, especially if you're traveling to or from PDX, just know that the trips might take a little bit longer. If you're carrying a lot of luggage, there might be limited space on board the shuttle buses. You might have to wait for a second shuttle bus.
Regular services are set to resume next Sunday.
All right, in less than 1 hour, the doors are going to open up at the first Trader Joe's in Gresham. A ribbon cutting at the 11,000 square foot store on Northeast Burnside will happen right before it opens at 8 o'clock. And this is a pretty cool part. As part of Trader Joe's Neighborhood Shares program, any product that's still in good condition but not sold is going to be donated to local nonprofits every day of the week. So they do it every day at Trader Joe's, and it's going to continue in Gresham.
Huh. My wife loves Trader Joe's. Good grief.
Why do you think so? What would be the reason that store is above the rest for Grayson?
Why?
Maybe it's proximity. Is it close to you?
You know what? They have their own line and kind of their own unique product brand that you don't find really in the other stores. And I just think there's a number of those food products that she just really likes. So she likes Trader Joe's. You know, it's smaller. You can go in and get out. They do have really good chocolate coconut covered almonds. Come in a little package about yay big. Pretty tasty. Yeah, pretty tasty. All right, we've got an upper level low sitting offshore. This is moving rain from south to north up our area, and it is producing instability, the nature of the flow pattern coming up from the south. So we have an ongoing thunderstorm threat into this evening that we'll just be watching. So here's what's going on right now. I want you to notice not much rain along the coast, and it could definitely turn out that the coast is far drier today than inland areas. We've had lightning strikes repeatedly pop down south of Roseburg. We've got this batch of rain that's intensified into some all-out downpours that's in Marion County, now moving north. There's Clackamas County, there's Welches, Sandy, and Canby ahead of this. Again, this is kind of coming at you, if you will. And if, it's tough to tell if this kind of bends back to Portland or just stays where it is and actually starts to migrate over to the Cascades. So maybe that misses Portland. We had some rain come through downtown at about 4 o'clock this morning, so roadways are wet from that batch of rain that came through. Now, other parts of our state are looking pretty good this morning, kind of partly cloudy, if you will, in Hood River. That's Indian Creek Golf Course. The Gorge expecting some rain at times later today, as rain expected to be somewhat numerous climbing south to north up through the Cascades. They're the bricks. They're wet from that 4 o'clock hour rain that moved through the city, 52 from the Pioneer Park building. Temperatures won't do much today. We're mostly in the low 50s. Winds are light. Gresham, good morning, 53. Dallas, 49. 51 down in Corvallis and Albany. Weather map today. There's a shower chance late today out east. Really, much of your day is just going to be partly cloudy and nice. That's why you see the 70s in LeGrand and Baker City. Only 39 up at Timberline. Snow levels today as low at times to at least see some snow in the air is 5,000 feet. We've got 60 in Portland. We've got no storm threat tomorrow, but still rain at times. And then Sunday is a day that much of the day could actually just see steady rain. So if there's a day overall that looks to be the wettest, that looks to be Sunday. And that is your forecast.
All right, thanks, Rod. Well, still to come on Sunrise, a Portland classic is getting a major facelift. See what's new inside the Memorial Coliseum. Plus, the greatest songs of the 21st century. Do you like my singing voice? No?
21st century.
Okay, well, we'll have better songs coming up. We'll take a look at the top 5 songs and which song made it to the #1 spot. That's next.
Quick reminder, the KGW Great Toy Drive is coming soon, and right now is the time to sign up to help us collect. It's very easy to do. All you have to do is hop online, go to kgw.com/toy, and when you sign up to collect for us, we will send you the very official KGW Great Toy Drive Collection Kit.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
It's certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
Well, Trailblazers fans who walk into Moda today for the team's preseason home opener should keep an eye out for a new mural. It's called Roots to Roses. 7 artists painted their interpretation of what roses meant in connection to their roots. Now, we caught up with one artist who used roses and sweetgrass as a nod to his Native American background.
So it's showcasing like a bunch of roses made a part of different colors, as everybody are. And it's also showing 2 hummingbirds that they are kind of like some spiritual visitors for our cultures.
Now, that's very creative for those artists, and tip-off is set for tonight at 7 against Sacramento.
All right, we're getting a sneak peek at some of the renovations made at Memorial Coliseum. The building underwent its first major upgrade since it first opened in 1960. Some of the new features include new seats, refreshed colors, and new handrails.
A lot of them are fan-facing, and then some of them are back-of-house kind of mechanical systems and things that the building desperately needed. The seats and the changing of the sort of design and color scheme in the bowl is probably the most immediately striking thing, I think, for folks, and it's going to be really well received.
The Portland Winterhawks play almost all of their home games at the Coliseum, and it also hosts a number of other events throughout the year.
Well, if you didn't already know, Drew,
Yes.
Rolling Stone has officially released the top 250 songs of the 21st century so far, and we got a few bangers here.
Yeah, I'm going to read off all 250 right now. No, we're not going to do that. But we are going to talk about the best. So when you think of the 21st century, it could be hard to think of which song is the absolute tops over the last 25 years. But there can only be one number one. According to Rolling Stone magazine, Missy Elliott, number 1 on the list with Get Your Freak On.
I'm not surprised.
Get Your Freak On is number 1. Do you know what year that came out? That was way back in 2001.
Wow.
So it's been 24 years since that one came out. Let's go number 2. Maps by the Yeah Yeah Yeahs. Am I saying that? I don't even know if I'm saying that right.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm saying Yeah Yeahs, right?
Yeah, you are.
Maps came out in 2003.
And Crazy in Love by Beyonce featuring Jay-Z is number 3. That also came out in 2003. That's a great song right there.
Yeah, it was. 7 Nation Army by the White Stripes is 4th. I do like that one.
Okay.
Man, that came out in 2000. All the good songs apparently came out at the beginning of the century.
It was a great year for music.
That was
Great
03
year.
as well.
Yeah.
And rounding out the top 5 is Taylor Swift with All Too Well, which was released in 2012.
Huh. Was she a one-hit wonder? I can't remember. Taylor Swift? I'm not sure.
I don't think I've heard of her before.
By the way, Missy Elliott was announced to be one of the performers at this year's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame ceremony. This year's inductees, I don't know if you heard the list, but this year's inductees include Chubby Checker, Cyndi Lauper, Outkast,
Nice.
the White Stripes. You just heard from the White Stripes. They were 4th on that best songs of the 21st century list.
You know what I've become? I've become the old man that, this happened a long time ago, obviously, that listens to the music that he grew up with.
Yeah, I don't think you're
I
wrong.
mostly in the car listen to 70s and 80s music.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I'm
good
the
music.
same. I'm pretty. If you gave me 80s music trivia, I would be very good. If you gave me any from the last 25 years, I would do very poorly.
And I think that's kind of common. You may do that someday. Which would be the decade of what? 2000? What would be your decade of music, do you think? 2000?
I would say so.
Yeah.
2010?
Yeah.
2010?
Yeah, I would say so.
All right, well then I'm not an oddball. Other people do this too. Thank you.
normal.
Thank you. I feel good about myself. All right, here's a look at our satellite picture with the low sitting offshore. Again, this sends everything up from south to north. That's a pattern of instability, already meaning lightning chances, already lightning down offshore from Roseburg. And so far, no lightning with this, but I'm watching it because watch this intensify. See the colors pop across Marion and now moving up into Clackamas County. So this is clearly over on the east side. And that's some heavy rain, making a beeline at this point for you folks in Welches, Sanby, and maybe Canby. I can make the argument that this bends back toward Portland, but a lot of the modeling actually bends it toward the Cascades, so I'm not sure what the trajectory of that is, but that's our first really large area of heavy rain moving up the valley this morning. And the forecast, it's just going to be rain at times, everything coming from south and moving up to the north. So a mix of dry time and wet time with a thunderstorm chance embedded. This is 8 o'clock this morning. There's some showers, and here's more of a scattered pattern coming in at 6 o'clock. But notice even at 6, there's a bright color, maybe a thunderstorm south of Eugene. There's a bright color, maybe a storm brewing that intensifies up near Salmon Creek at even 10 o'clock tonight. Now, overnight tonight, the chance of any thunderstorms ends, and then it's just rain at times for your Saturdays. Everything comes in from the west. And then I do want to stop this at 8 o'clock Sunday. Sunday, there's a big batch of moisture that the models kind of pull down in a northwesterly flow. And if correct, it would be kind of quiet early morning, but this shows from 9 or 10 o'clock on, it's pretty much steady rain for the remainder of the day. This is noon on Sunday, and this is 5 o'clock. So if that's true, that was widespread steady rain much of your Sunday. Now, you put it all together, weather models still aren't biting on overly impressive totals. They generally show a half of an inch of rain to maybe 3/4, coast and valley over an inch in the Cascades, and some decent rain amounts in central and eastern areas as well. There's Prineville. These are rain totals potentially today through Sunday, showing 56/100ths of an inch. Really pretty early morning cameras. We have enough breaks in the cloud cover that with the sun starting to get into rising position, if you will. Here's our Chehalem tasting room camera showing Mount Hood and some brightness off to the east, 51 degrees. Temps won't do much today because of all the cloudiness here on the west side. It is freezing out in Burns, but so far Baker City holding well above at 39. Valley forecast. Rain at times, that possibility of thunderstorms. Temperatures nearing 60. South winds 5 to 15. If we get some thunderstorms, yesterday we did have some heavy rain cells in the valley late afternoon. Those produced potential gusts of about 40 miles per hour. Similar situation up in southwest Washington, except for the chance of thunder, I think, is far better really south of the Columbia River. It's possible up in southwest Washington, but the chances aren't as good. There's the weekend we talked about. Showers linger on Monday, and this is a forecast change. Now looking at all dry weather with an east wind and sunshine on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week. And that is your forecast.
All right, thank you, Rod. Well, still to come on Sunrise, a rare moment of unity on Capitol Hill. This is lawmakers praise President Donald Trump's Middle East peace deal. We'll also have a look at what comes next and when the remaining hostages could finally return home. Sunrise streaming live at 7 continues in just 2 minutes.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
It's certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
The Israeli military says a ceasefire agreement is now in effect in Gaza after Israel approved the first phase of the deal. President Trump says he plans to travel to Egypt for the signing ceremony. NBC's Alice Barr has the latest on all this for us from Washington, D.C.
Smoke is fading over Gaza, relief rising for Palestinians and Israelis. As the Israeli military announced a long-sought ceasefire is now in effect, and its forces moving to new deployment lines within Gaza. Part of the first phase of a peace deal the Israeli government and Hamas both approved, and President Trump advanced.
I think it's going to be a lasting peace, hopefully an everlasting peace.
The president planning to travel to Egypt this weekend for a formal signing and the return of the remaining hostages, 20 believed to still be alive after 2 years in Hamas captivity.
They should be released on Monday or Tuesday. Getting them is a complicated process.
And there are even more complicated steps ahead, including a requirement for Hamas to disarm and leave power, still an open question.
They got to be written out of the future of Palestine.
Cautious optimism on Capitol Hill, where lawmakers in both parties gave credit to President Trump.
What we need is bipartisan support for the peace process, which will be fraught with obstacles, make no mistake.
The biggest challenge, how to bring Gaza back from the ruins and secure a peaceful future. President Trump adamant no one will be forced to leave and that neighboring nations will help rebuild.
We're going to create something where people can live. You can't live right now in Gaza.
The U.S. military preparing options to send as many as 200 troops to Israel to ensure stability and the flow of aid into Gaza, according to 2 U.S. officials familiar with the planning, who noted there will be no American boots on the ground in Gaza. As for how this deal came together, Secretary of State Marco Rubio pointed to some key turning points, including President Trump securing the backing of leaders of Muslim-majority nations at the UN General Assembly last month, getting Israel's prime minister to sign on in a White House visit, and delivering a final ultimatum to Hamas. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Back here in Portland, videos of protests outside the ICE facility are making rounds on social media. Coming up in our next half hour, we're going to hear from an expert about which of these videos are real and how you can tell, and which ones are taken out of context. Plus, we'll also have a look at how the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife is working to protect native northwestern pond turtles. Again, all of that coming up in our next half hour.
KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free. On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
Good morning on a Friday. I'm meteorologist Rod Hill. Already some rain in Portland. A batch of rain moved through in the 4 o'clock hour this morning, so that's why you look outside and everything is wet. Right now, we still have this pattern of rain moving south to north. It's far more wet on the east side of I-5, as you can tell. In this latest batch, so far there's been no lightning in any of this, although I'm monitoring this because we think thunderstorms are a possibility today. But for now, it's just rain that turns heavy. And there's Colton, there's Estacada, so this is just to your south, getting ready to move up into your area. Temperatures won't do much today because of the clouds and occasional rain or showers moving up through the region. 52 right now, 56 degrees at noon, and then only about 60 at most for a high temperature. Now this rainy pattern is still set to be with us through the weekend. So today there's a storm chance mixed in. No thunderstorm chance tomorrow, just rain at times. And it's looking like Sunday could be all widespread steady rain from mid-morning through the afternoon, becoming the wettest of the bunch. Dry weather returns Tuesday of next week.
7:30, half hour of the Sunrise Show on this Friday morning, our favorite morning of the week on Sunrise.
Yeah.
We start this half hour with a live look from our Oregon Zoo Skycam. I believe we've got that one mountain goat there on top of the rock in the middle that's kind of, it looks like he's stretching.
Yes.
Stretching for some weekend activity.
You knew we were live on air because it stood up. As soon as you said good morning, it heard you.
Very nicely done by that mountain goat. And then if you look down a little bit next to that rock, that I think that other white object.
Oh, another one.
Is a mountain. Oh, yeah. I see his head behind the bush and he's chewing on something.
Yes.
Oh, activity aplenty there this morning at the zoo. Now, we just learned a few days ago the names of those goats. We've got Sassy, Murphy, and Lena. I can't tell which two we just looked at.
Yeah.
But that was two of Sassy, Murphy, and Lena.
Great names.
If you say the names loudly next time we see that shot, they'll hear and they'll turn.
Yo,
as
Murphy.
we say their names, right? Yeah.
Yo, Sassy.
Turn around. All right. Well, it's going to be on again, off again rain on this Friday. So I'm just going to show you the big view. We've got at least scattered cloudiness out across the east. There's a shower threat out in eastern Oregon, but really much of your day, especially until we get into late afternoons, is expected to be dry. So the action is primarily today going to be on the west side, climbing up in the Cascades and eventually moving over into central Oregon. Here's Salem, currently dry, 51 degrees. There's rain to the east of I-5 in Marion County. And here is the downtown Wells Fargo camera looking at Mount Hood, kind of partially covered by the clouds. The sun is now up, by the way. We've got 52 degrees for the temperature. So rain at times, 56 at noon. We may or may not make it to 60. There is an embedded thunderstorm chance in the forecast today, and that chance continues into this evening. Now we'll have your complete weekend forecast coming up, guys, but for now, back to you.
All right, no Chris today, Rod, as you know, but we do have some traffic updates for the audience. And we start with this. Monday, the Broadway Bridge is going to close down, excuse me, and it's going to stay closed for 6 whole months. Crews are going to replace the bridge's decking during that time, which was installed almost 2 decades ago. Portland streetcar will also be rerouted, but the south sidewalk of the Broadway Bridge will stay open for pedestrians and cyclists.
Well, this morning we're continuing to follow the ongoing legal battles over the deployment of the National Guard here to Portland. This as tensions continue to rise between federal and local leaders.
Yesterday, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals heard arguments over whether 200 Oregon National Guard members can be deployed to Portland. But as of this morning, the judges have not made a decision. Meanwhile, a federal judge in Chicago did grant a temporary restraining order blocking the deployment of the National Guard in Illinois. That's a two-week decision, a 2-week restraining order there in Chicago. The judge called Homeland Security's narrative of what's happening, quote, simply unreliable. And during a cabinet meeting at the White House yesterday, Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem reaffirmed her position about sending troops to Portland and Chicago. She also threatened to expand ICE operations and the presence of federal officers if local officials don't cooperate.
If we have to do it the hard way in Portland and Chicago, we will.
Again, we're still waiting for a decision from the appeals court on whether or not the Trump administration can deploy the National Guard to Portland. But if the judges rule in favor of the president, troops could be deployed immediately.
That's right. KGW's Kyle Oboshi has more details on where the judges left things off during yesterday's hearing.
Just minutes into a hearing before the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, one of the judges jumped in with a question. The 3-judge panel would go on to challenge the lawyers for nearly an hour as the appellate court considered whether to overturn a lower court order temporarily blocking the deployment of the Oregon National Guard in Portland.
Ninth Circuit is known to be a bit of a hot bench when it comes to very important or of-the-moment questions.
The state of Oregon argued the president exceeded his authority and claimed local police could handle the protests outside the ICE facility in South Portland.
Where the president's determinations are untethered from reality, they cannot represent a colorable assessment of the facts within a range of honest judgment.
But the two Trump-appointed judges pushed back, questioning U.S. District Court Judge Karen Immergut's temporary restraining order blocking federalized troops.
I'm sort of trying to figure out how a district court of any nature is supposed to get in and question whether the president's assessment of executing the laws is right or wrong.
Two of the three judges appeared to side with the federal government, suggesting the president knows more about what's going on inside the ICE building than what's seen outside.
At some point, the president is entitled, when his subordinates are telling him, we are overstretched, this is unsustainable, the officers aren't available to do their jobs, they're not available to surge to other places where we face violence. The president is entitled to say enough is enough and bring in the National Guard to reinforce the regular forces.
For several months, a small group of demonstrators has gathered in front of the ICE facility in South Portland, leading to occasional clashes with federal agents protecting the building. This high-stakes legal battle is just the latest test of President Trump's authority to use military force to respond to protests. Kyle Aboshi, KGW News.
And while we wait for a decision, protests are continuing outside the ICE facility.
Portland police say they made 2 more arrests there last night. Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz, meanwhile, joins us live in South Portland outside the facility. So, Thomas, what does it look like there this morning?
Yeah, well, look, right now, guys, it's very peaceful. That's been the case all morning long. We're seeing some people, as they've done throughout the past few weeks here, start to set up tents as they prepare for protests later in the day. Again, many of those protests have been peaceful. Meanwhile, Oregon senators are pushing the feds for answers on how federal agents are dealing with protests.
My view is this Trump unilateral action is an abuse of executive authority. He is clearly hoping that he can incite violence and undermine the constitutional balance of power between the federal government and our states.
In a letter to top Trump administration officials, Oregon leaders asked a series of questions about the South Portland ICE facility, specifically around detainment and processing, access to lawyers in immigration hearings, and the tactics used by Federal Protective Service officers. Some protesters tell us they've seen some of those tactics firsthand.
The only time I felt unsafe is because there was an ICE officer pushing me out of the way, pushing other people, arresting people for doing absolutely nothing.
President Trump has pushed back, saying federal troops are necessary because Portland is war-ravaged. In courts, attorneys for the Department of Justice say more federal officers are needed to deal with protests and the threat of violence. Now, look, we're across the street last night. I'll tell you real quick here. Federal agents also detained a couple people. It's unclear why that happened. That's something we're going to continue to follow up on. We don't know if they were detained or arrested. Also, just a minute ago, TriMet put up this sign saying it's a notice of an unauthorized campsite. It looks like they're looking, they were accompanied by a Portland police officer as well, so it looks like TriMet is looking to clean up this camp right here. It's been somewhat affiliated with protesters over the past couple of weeks. This is also an area that, guys, even before, we have seen some people sleeping in the area, so that's just another element as they look to continue to clean up this area right outside the ICE facility. Guys?
All right, Thomas Schultz live for us all morning there in South Portland. We know a lot of people are getting updates about what's happening at the ICE facility through videos on their social media feeds.
That's right, but how can you know which videos are true and which ones are taken out of context? KGW's Libby Dowsett sat down with an expert on how to wade through all of them and make sense of all that content.
You've seen the videos.
I love this, man. I love this energy.
The social media messages.
It's actually relatively quiet.
But how, in this age of AI, clickbait, and toxic politics, can we know what is really going on?
If it's really provocative or kind of outlandish, something that you're like, wow, this just feels a little weird, I would go and double check the source.
Dr. Ashley Haas, who teaches social media, marketing, and analytics at the University of Portland, recommends first doing some digging to understand the context of what's being shown or posted.
And it's okay to get things from multiple sources. So that's where I think that like triangulation, making sure, okay, I see that this is happening, and going to the source is really important.
An example, a TikTok poster claims this Portland police liaison officer is standing up to ICE.
You will be arrested.
But a different post with a longer video clip appears to show the officer directing a citizen driver away from a closed area near the ICE building.
Right now there are people occupying it.
I would go and try and find, again, that like longer soundbite, because especially with social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, it's smaller versions of media, right? It's only clips here and there.
Secondly, she says it's also important to consider the source of the post.
We hope to have peace and secure some partnerships.
While KGW was able to quickly question U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem when she visited Portland, only conservative social media representatives were invited to come along on her tour of the ICE facility, not mainstream media.
We're in these echo chambers where you're liking content and saying things that is primarily probably one of your political affiliations versus another.
Haas teaches her social media students to exercise critical thinking and ask open-ended questions to achieve a better understanding of what they're seeing online.
And they're good at discerning, especially AI. They've got the eye to see when things are like, yeah, that's not real.
She predicts new AI tools in the next 5 years will help pinpoint altered videos. In the meantime, she says the real spotlight needs to be on ethics when deciding what to post and share.
What impact am I having to the world and society? How am I making the space better?
Libby Dowsett, KGW News.
All right, from South Portland, we move here to our Wells Fargo Skycam, a live look at the sunrise on this Friday morning. Pretty start to the day, but Rod, I know it's going to be a lot rainier today in most of the area than it was yesterday, correct?
Yeah, yesterday, I don't know, 98% of us just stayed dry. We had those late day spotty storms that fired up, and I believe it was parts of Yamhill and Washington counties over on the west side. And those storms, the Weather Service did put out a statement saying, hey, watch out for pea-sized hail and maybe some 40-mile-per-hour gusts. We still have a thunderstorm threat today. You would assume the same would be potential. Some hail and some gusty winds. Everything moving south to north. Portland has been dry since we had, in the 4 o'clock hour, some rain move through and kind of wet everything down. This is the first absolute heavy rain area to move up to the valley this morning. This is moving to the north, so it won't be long. It'll be moving into Sandy, and it might just curl enough to catch downtown Portland as well. So there you can see that northward movement. This is Futurecast picking up on what I just showed you on radar. I'll play this between now and 10 o'clock. It just kind of hugs near downtown, but mainly over onto the west side. Most of the modeling is showing this will be twice the amount of rain time today east of I-5, much drier if you go west of I-5, and much drier at the coast today as well, as we try to pinpoint your Friday for you a little bit. But generally speaking, have your rain gear with you and expect these passing shots of rain to come up from south to north throughout the day. Temps won't do much. Right now, 50 in Oregon City with that rain off to your south. Salem's at 51. We've got 49 degrees in Silverton. Bean and Sprout, super cute. Our dogs of the day. Use the email address dogoftheday@kgw.com. Send us your dog's photos and names, and your dog will become our dog of the day. Mainly dry eastern Oregon today with a shower threat later on, but a nice partly sunny day, and some of you will be in the 70s. Other than that, you have a lot of clouds from central Oregon back to the coast with the rain chances that we outlined. For the weekend, no thunderstorm chance tomorrow, just rain at times. Sunday could be the day with steady rain much of the day. So your Sunday plans right now could potentially be looking at being a washout. That is your update.
All right, thank you, Rod.
If we lose the species, that would be really sad.
Still to come on Sunrise, a look at how the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife is working to protect and track a specific species of turtle native to the Northwest.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stay informed, prepared, and connected with KGW and KGW Plus. Coverage that alerts you to what's coming and how it will impact you. Watch extended weather coverage on KGW Plus. The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust. Track how the weather will impact your day. Breaking news live from the scene. All the local news you need. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yes.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW Plus.
That's Corey Johnson on piano this morning. We do have the first installment for you here in a new KGW series called Oregon is Worth Protecting.
That's right. We're partnering with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife to bring you stories about the plants and creatures living right here in Oregon.
Tim Gordon kicks off the series with a look at a specific species of turtle that's native to the state.
On a beautiful piece of land in the muddy valley of Yamhill County, Susan Barnes with the Oregon Department of Fish and Wildlife is suiting up. She's a regional wildlife conservation biologist.
And I focus on non-game wildlife, so species that can't be hunted or harvested, and that really is my passion.
Her passion here has to do with this pond and what it holds.
So the northwestern pond turtle is one of Oregon's two semi-aquatic native species, and they are species of greatest conservation need in our state wildlife action plan.
In Oregon, the northwestern pond turtle is just a step away from being considered threatened or endangered.
So this is one of the species that is a priority to Oregon, that if we lose this species, that would be really sad.
That's why the work happening at this pond is critical. Barnes set up a trap the night before our visit.
1, 2, 3, there's at least 6 in that trap. Well, let's go find out.
And when she went out, trudging along the muddy pond bottom to get it,
oh my gosh, it's the mother lode.
it was full of turtle.
20 is my guess. We know there are a lot of turtles here. We've marked over 500 unique animals here.
But despite the number you see here, the turtles are facing an invasion of invasive American bullfrogs. The frogs can eat baby turtles.
We know bullfrogs will eat anything they can get their mouths on.
And that's exactly why the work happening here is so important. This pond and the land around it are part of a carefully managed conservation site. The Yamhill Soil and Water Conservation District, which owns the land, works with state biologists to protect native wildlife. The turtles rely on the surrounding upland areas too, shaded by white oaks and native vegetation, where many trek each year to burrow down and spend the winter months.
Often I talk to folks who see a turtle moving away from the water up into forested habitat, and they think, oh no, the turtle's in trouble, it's not in the water.
But the turtle is on a mission, heading where it should be. If you put it back in the water,
they have to do it again, and it's a perilous journey, and it makes them put at risk at getting run over by cars or being collected illegally. So if you were to find a turtle in the wild, move it off the road or trail, but point it in the same direction, and then report the turtle sighting.
Another big thing we can do to help is to not keep a northwestern pond turtle as a pet. They belong in the wild. Also, don't buy, sell, keep, or release invasive species like illegal snapping or red-eared slider turtles. They can quickly take over and ruin habitats.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Today's count here is good, although most have already been tallied and marked over the past few years.
Aha! This is a new turtle. Yay. Okay, so we're gonna go release these turtles.
A positive sign, the population here, although challenged, seems to be surviving.
Every turtle has a different personality. Yes. Generally, though, turtles are very curious. I think they're intelligent.
Creatures that are easy to appreciate while letting them be where they belong. It's part of Oregon worth protecting. Tim Gordon, KGW News.
You know, we've been on the air for several hours. I'm sorry, Rod, did you want to say something?
There they went. They were moving on, the turtles. I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
Yes, you're right about that. We've been on the air for several hours now. Admittedly, that's the third time we've seen that story about the turtles.
Yeah.
And for some reason, during this showing of the story, our conversation went to donuts. You guys were talking about something I had never heard of in my life.
Oh, here it comes.
A style of donut called the Long John?
Yeah.
I've never heard of a Long John donut.
It's the ones that are rectangular and they have the frosting on it. They can come either filled or not filled. But we're from the Midwest, so maybe it's
a maple bar? Like a maple bar?
And I never heard it called
And that's
maple bar.
what she's talking about.
Yeah.
Though. A maple bar would be a Long John with maple icing on it. Or frosting on it, yeah.
Yeah,
the Long John.
More you know,
And it was
maple bar.
pretty common back in the Midwest that they'd be filled. I don't feel like you see them filled here very often.
No.
See, that's what threw me off when you started talking about the turtles there at the end, because I thought, what are you doing now? You were just talking about donuts a second ago. Anyways, I'm sorry, Rod.
I can go from donuts to turtles like that.
And back.
Yeah, all right, let's get you going. I have a somewhat active rainy day. You know, it's setting up to where it's not going to be, there's going to be a shower chance, but maybe it's not really that wet at the coast today. It's going to be a shower chance, but maybe it's not really that wet overall, generally speaking, west of I-5. A lot of the action with the modeling, and we're seeing it already this morning, is tracking near I-5 and off to the east. That's what you're seeing right here. We've had thunderstorms, lightning strikes just come and go down around Roseburg. I was wondering if this area here, now up into Clackamas County, would be a thunder and lightning producer. But so far, you see the bright colors? It's just been really heavy rain, and now it's getting ready to hit Sandy. And the movement of this over the last 15 minutes is starting to steer this. I mean, it could fill into Canby and Portland, but it looks like the heart of this is going to go right up through the east side and eventually catch up into the West Gorge. So that's the current radar situation right now. Portland streets are wet because we had some rain move through downtown way back in the 4 o'clock hour this morning. Futurecast, this is generally that area of rain that we just looked at. See how it through 10 o'clock, it kind of hugs everything near I-5, but off to the east. And then later today, it does pick up more of a scattered threat. And this is coming up on 10 o'clock tonight. Pop, bright color, pop, bright color. Those are signs that there could still be some embedded thunderstorms even this evening. Now, overnight tonight, the chance of any storms ends, and tomorrow will just be a westerly flow with occasional shots of rain coming in. So again, on your Saturday, kind of a mix of dry time and wet time. But Sunday, if you have plans, this is the day where it might just turn out to be a rainy day. 8 o'clock in the morning, rain just off to our west. Here's noon. Here's 5 o'clock. That was a rainy day. That was a widespread, steady rainy day. So we'll see. Weather models still are stuck on about a half of an inch of rain through it all, to maybe some areas getting 3/4 of an inch of rain. If you look at the rain potential here, over an inch of rain expected up and down the Cascade. Snow levels for the weekend, though, or I should say, by the way, would be 5,000, even as low as 4,500 feet. A lot of clouds and a rain chance coming to Central Oregon today as well. You can't see the Three Sisters. If it were clear, you would see them. That's the view from Aspen Lakes Golf Course over there in the Sisters area. 52 Portland, 51 Salem, 46 degrees over in Bend. Don't forget, rain at times, more so east of I-5. Possibility of thunderstorms mixed in. Now, everybody has at least a scattered shower threat in the forecast. Same comments up in Southwest Washington. Temperatures around 60 degrees. Monday, sun and showers. Forecast update now shows all dry. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week with east winds, sunny skies, and maybe we hit a 70 on Thursday. If you turn 70 next Thursday, that could be your day. Wow. All right, we'll be back in a moment.
The KGW Plus TV app, streaming 24/7. Local news from the team you trust on your time. Track how the weather will impact your day.
It's certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
Extended, continuous coverage of breaking news live from the scene.
That snowpack is still heavy.
Go deeper with in-depth interviews and exclusive reporting. All the local news you need, live or on demand. KGW Plus. Download on your TV and watch for free.
We have now issued a weather impact alert.
We could expect conditions in some parts of our area to change drastically pretty soon, right?
And very quickly, yeah.
This is significant rainfall coming our way.
You'll definitely want to be extra cautious.
Certainly becoming increasingly hazardous.
We've got the potential for some tree limbs or even trees or power lines to come down.
Of course, when you hear thunder, it's always best to take cover.
On Weather Impact Alert Days, stream extended coverage on KGW.
All right, check this out. The doors to Gresham's first ever Trader Joe's are set to open here in less than 5 minutes, right at 8 o'clock. The 11,000 square foot store is located on Northeast Burnside, and as part of Trader Joe's Neighborhood Shares program, any unsold but still perfectly good product will be donated to a local nonprofit every day of the week.
Well, coming up at 8, KGW Sunrise continues live on KGW Plus with the latest on the deployment of the National Guard as local lawmakers demand answers on how federal agents deal with protesters. Plus.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, another day, another record broken by Taylor Swift. This time Taylor broke 2 big records with her big new album. We're going to have that story for you coming up in our 8:30 half hour. Stay with us. Sunrise streaming live at 8